So I get a lot of questions from people thinking about moving to Dallas from the East Coast. And when I say the East Coast, I mean New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, DC, Northern Virginia, Boston, and even Philadelphia. And what I've noticed is that the questions are all a little different from what I hear from people that are coming from places like California, because the situation is very different. You are not necessarily leaving because of the cost of housing. You might be leaving because of taxes or winters or density, or you're just wanting a little bit more space and a different pace of life. And Dallas can absolutely be that answer to you, but there are some things about this move that nobody really prepares you for, so let's talk about it in this video. Hi, I'm Dee Walton, your local Dallas realtor, and I help people buy, sell, and relocate to the DFW area. And if you are looking for this type of video to understand what it's like to move from the East Coast to Dallas, then you are in the right place. So let's start with what's actually driving this. Places like New York and New Jersey are currently the number 2 and 3 states in the country for outbound migration. Connecticut is right behind it, and it's not one thing, it's usually a combination of things. The taxes are a really big one. If you are earning around $200,000 in New York City, you are paying state income tax and city income tax on top of federal. And that's roughly about $19,000 to $20,000 a year going to the state and the city alone before you even get to the federal taxes. New Jersey also has some of the highest property taxes in the country, averaging around $9,000 a year, even on a modest home. And as you know, Texas actually has no income state taxes. So that is actually a huge cost savings from people moving from the East Coast. But it's not just the taxes, it's other things like the winters that are on the East Coast, spending $3,500 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. It's not having a yard, it's the commute. It's feeling like your paycheck is going straight back to the door before you can actually build anything. And Dallas keeps showing up as the answer. DFW is consistently the number 1 destination for domestic migration in the country. Last year alone, the metro welcomed over 519,000 new residents. A significant chunk of those are coming from the Northeast, and Gen X and millennials, working age families make up 3 out of the 4 people that are making the move to the Dallas area. So another really big important for people coming from the East Coast is going to be housing. This is where the East Coast people have a different reaction than California people. Housing here may not be as shocking, but the size difference is wild. Now, here's where the East Coast experience is a little different from what Californians go through. If you're coming from California, you've been priced out of homeownership almost entirely. If you are coming from somewhere like New York or New Jersey, you might actually own a home, but it's probably smaller than what you want, and you're probably paying a lot for it. In Dallas, the median home price is right now around $485,000, and a 1-bedroom apartment averages around $1,500 a month. Compare that to New York City, where the same apartment runs around $3,200 a month, and that's before you factor in the fact that it's probably on the 4th floor, walk up with 1 window. But here's the thing, I tell East Coast clients this a lot. It's not just the price that's different, it's also the space. Your $450,000 to $600,000 in Dallas gets you anywhere between $3,000 up to a 4,000 square foot home with a garage, a backyard, and an actual laundry room, and probably a converted patio if you want. That home in New Jersey or Connecticut will run you around $800,000 to $1.2 million, and it's probably older and on a smaller lot. Overall, New York City is around 50 to 60% more expensive than living in the DFW area. New construction is also a big factor here. A lot of the East Coast buyers have only ever dealt with older homes, 1950s, 60s, or even 70s. And in the suburbs around Dallas, you have an enormous amount of brand new inventory, new builds, new infrastructure, new school, and that is a very different conversation entirely for my folks coming from the East Coast. So let's talk about the elephant in the room and one of the biggest differences if you are moving here from the East Coast, and that is going to be the car thing. So I have to address this because it's the number 1 adjustment I see for people moving from the East Coast. They struggle with it a little bit, and nobody really talks about it enough. You have to have a car when you move to the DFW area. Like, you need a car for everything. If you are coming from Manhattan or Brooklyn or even a Boston suburb where you walk the train, you're able to get around and get to work really easily, this is going to be a really big shift for you. Dallas has DART, and that is our light rail train system, but it doesn't reach most of the suburbs where people with families are actually buying homes like Frisco, McKinney, Allen, Prosper, or even Southlake. None of those have rail access, so you're gonna be driving. So the good news is that there are, of course, parking lots everywhere. Some of them are free, some of them cost money, and outside of rush hour, the highways actually move. But highways like I-35 and the Dallas North Tollway and even 121 during peak times, there is real traffic on those highways. The population growth has definitely caught up with the infrastructure in certain corridors. So if you move into the area and you're in your car, you're definitely gonna experience some traffic. My advice would be to East Coast clients is to think about this before you choose where to buy. If you want to minimize driving, you wanna look at places like Uptown or even Lakewood, or areas closer to the city where you can actually at least walk to get to restaurants or coffee shops. If you got kids and schools are a priority for you, you're probably going to want to be in the suburbs. And so just to set that expectation for yourself up front that you will need to have a car. So fun fact, New York City is probably one of my favorite cities. So this video in by no way is a dig at the East Coast. I love New York City. I try to visit at least once a year. We actually spent New Year's Eve there back in 2024. But the reason why I would probably never move to New York City is because of the winters. I'm super cold natured and I just cannot bear it. So if you fall into that bracket and you're looking for a little bit of warmer climate, you're in the research phase and you want to move forward with a strategy call that will help you figure out what you're looking for if you're thinking about Dallas, I'll tell you honestly what makes sense for your situation. So you can actually use the link that is on your screen. You can scan this QR code to book a call with me. If you're 6 months out, this is the perfect time to start having this discussion about your move to Dallas. And we'll have about 30 minutes to call to really chit chat about what makes the most sense for you. All right, so another thing that I want to talk about for those of you moving from the East Coast is going to be the job market. East Coasters often come from the finance backgrounds, law, government, healthcare. So let's talk about jobs if you're moving from the East Coast, because this is a concern I hear a lot from East Coast professionals, especially people in finance, law, government work. And the honest answer is that the job market in DFW has gotten very strong, but it's different from what you're used to. Major employers in DFW include companies like Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab, AT&T, American Airlines, Caterpillar, Lockheed Martin, and Toyota. Goldman Sachs has a major and growing presence here. Charles Schwab moved its headquarters to Westlake, right in the DFW market. Caterpillar relocated its global headquarters to Irving, and the Toyota North America is actually in Plano. American Airlines has been headquartered here for decades, and the financial services and the corporate sector in particular has expanded significantly. And that means that tech salaries are tracking pretty close to what you may see on the East Coast. Software engineers are going to be anywhere between 95 up to 180,000. If you are a product manager, you may see salaries around 110,000 up to 200,000. If you're in finance and accounting, you may see salaries around 85,000 up to 160,000. If you are in legal or even government work, those are more concentrated in DC, obviously. So if your career is specifically tied to federal work, that's a real conversation to have. But corporate law, real estate law, and businesses in general, there are plenty of opportunities here in the Dallas area. And then there, of course, is the workforce that works from home. A meaningful portion of the East Coast transplants actually work from home, with keeping their current job in New York or even DC and working remotely in Dallas. And that arbitrage is real. You are learning, you are earning a Northwest salary against Texas cost of living, and that math can really be life-changing pretty quickly. All right, so let's talk about what actually takes adjustment, because I think this is where some East Coast transplants are caught off guard. The pace is a little bit slower here, and I mean that generously, not as a negative, it's just a fact. So if you are used to New York speed, where everyone moves fast, lunch is a 20-minute working meal, Dallas is gonna feel a little bit different. People take their time for more conversations, neighbors actually talk to each other. There's kind of a Southern hospitality and feel that is gonna be here in Texas that will definitely be different than what you've experienced on the East Coast, but it will also take some getting used to when you are wired for a different tempo. The weather is also another big thing, and if you are from the East Coast, then you guys know how to handle cold and snow very well. But a Texas summer is its own thing. June, July, and August, we're regularly hitting 100-degree weather. The heat index makes it feel a bit hotter. You spend a lot of time in air conditioning, and if you've been going to the beach on summer weekends, that's not really happening here. The lakes are beautiful and people love them, but it is going to be adjustment. From a renter's perspective though, almost nothing. We get maybe a few cold snaps here and there, occasionally with some ice, but really no shoveling, no heavy coats. That alone is a quality of life upgrade and change for a lot of people. So let's talk a little bit about the food scene. If you are coming from the East Coast, I personally love to eat in DC. It is one of my favorite places to eat. But here in Texas, the food scene has really grown. Deep Ellum and the Bishop Arts District are strong. Uptown has really great dining. And yes, the Tex-Mex here is pretty exceptional, along with some really great barbecue culture. So you're not gonna find a great deal of authentic New York pizza, for example, but the food scene is actually quite diverse and it keeps expanding. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about the numbers if you are thinking about a move to Texas. In New York City, a one-bedroom rent average is around $3,200. But in Dallas, that same one-bedroom rent average would be around $1,500, an average rental savings of around $21,000. From a tax perspective, the New York State tax and New York State income tax on a $200,000 salary is around $19,000 a year. If you're in New Jersey, it's gonna be around $12,000 a year, and Texas has no state income tax, so that's zero. From a property tax standpoint, this one requires some honesty. Texas property taxes are higher than you might expect, averaging around anywhere between 1.7 up to 2.7%, depending on the county. And on a $500,000 home, you're looking at roughly about $8,500 to $11,000 a year in taxes, and that's something that you really want to be mindful of and budget for. So New Jersey has the highest property taxes in the country, averaging around $9,000 a year, even on homes valued at under $350,000. And New Jersey residents are also paying state income taxes, so the total picture in Texas is still significantly better from a math perspective, even with the property tax rate. So the New Jersey average property taxes is around $9,000 a year. Texas is averaging property taxes on a $500,000 home anywhere between $8,500 to $11,000 a year. But again, when you include the fact that we don't have any state income taxes, it can be a lot of savings per year. A household earning around $150,000 in Dallas can genuinely maintain the same quality of life that they had around $210,000 in New York. Okay, so let me give you my honest breakdown of where East Coast transplants tend to land and why. For families with kids who want top schools, Frisco and Allen are the two that I recommend most consistently. Allen ISD has a 91 out of 10 T-score, and homes in Allen average around $485,000. That's a strong value for the school quality that you're getting. Frisco is similar, strong schools, well-planned, lots of construction in the northern section. And you also have Prosper and Salina if you want more space and some newer builds with a range of price points. Southlake is gonna be a community with one of the #1 ranked school districts in Texas, which is Curl ISD. And the price point for that community is going to be around $1.2 million. From an Allen perspective, school quality versus price, great value, around $485,000. Frisco North is gonna be around $475,000 to $750K. And then you also have Prosper, which is around $500,000 up to $900,000K. If you are a young professional and kids are not important as far as the schools go, Uptown Dallas is the closest thing to an urban walkable neighborhood. Great restaurants, nightlife, walkable streets. It has a different energy than the suburbs, of course. Lakewood and the M Streets have great character, established neighborhoods with older homes, more personality, and you also have neighborhoods like Lower Greenville, which is another one worth looking at if you're thinking about a more urban feel. For people who want a little bit more established and quieter and upscale, Plano West is a mature area, well connected, lots of amenities. Grapevine is another really great city, and it actually has a lot of historical main streets with wine tasting, lots of restaurants in that area as well. And so if you are used to kind of having a town center, Grapevine really scratches that itch. It is also right by DFW Airport, which matters if you travel a lot. So from a price perspective, uptown condos, again, ranging from around $350,000 up to $1 million. The Grapevine area, and specifically that historical main street near DFW, those homes are gonna be anywhere between $450,000 up to $700,000. And then you have Plano West. Those homes are gonna cost anywhere between $450,000 to $700,000. So here's the real summary of what I want you to walk away with from this video. The East Coast to Dallas is absolutely viable. It financially makes a lot lot of sense for a lot of people, and the quality of life can genuinely improve. But it's a different place with different pace and different vibes, and going in with a realistic expectation makes a really big difference in how quickly you feel settled. The people I see thrive here are the ones who come ready to actually experience Dallas for what it is and not looking to recreate where they came from. And the people who struggle are usually the ones who spend their first year kind of comparing everything to back where they came from or back home. If you are in the research phase, I am happy to be a resource for you. So if you are definitely within that 6-month time frame, you can book a call utilizing the link that's in your description box, or you can utilize the QR code that's on your screen. We'll talk through your situation, your timeline, your budget, what you're prioritizing, and which areas actually make sense for you. And you can also scan this QR code for my free relocation guide. Tons of really great information that will provide a resource for you prior to you booking our call. It covers neighborhoods, school districts, what to budget for, all of it. It is linked below as well. And if you are an East Coast transplant that has already made the move to DFW, drop a comment below. I would love to hear how it's going for you and what you think about Dallas.